What if the life you have been desperately searching for, the purpose, the peace, the passion, what if it was never outside of you? What if God did not place your calling somewhere across the ocean, or in someone else's success story, or in a future version of yourself that has more money, more time, more confidence? What if right now, in this very moment, as you are sitting here feeling lost, feeling stuck, feeling like you missed your chance, what if the divine intelligence that created galaxies, that breathes life into every living thing, what if that same extraordinary power is literally living inside of you right now, whispering your name, pulling you towards something so magnificent that your human mind cannot even fully comprehend it yet? What if you are not broken? What if you are not too late? What if everything you have ever been through, every failure, every heartbreak, every door that slammed in your face, what if all of it was God preparing you, shaping you, carving you into the exact person who needs to stand exactly where you are supposed to stand? Stay with me, because what I am about to share will change how you see yourself forever. What if I told you that every single answer you have ever desperately searched for, every question you have cried over at 2 in the morning, every prayer you whispered into the darkness, wondering if anyone was listening, what if I told you that the answer was never out there? What if the most profound, earth-shattering truth about your existence is that God is not somewhere above the clouds looking down at you from a distance, occasionally deciding whether or not to pay attention to your life? What if God is not a distant authority figure waiting for you to be worthy enough, spiritual enough, or good enough to receive guidance? What if, and I want you to really sit with this, what if God is the very life force that is breathing through your lungs right now? What if the divine is not something you go to find, but something you finally stop running away from? I want to take you somewhere today. I want to take you to a place inside yourself that most people never visit in their entire lifetime. Not because it is difficult to reach, not because it requires special education or religious credentials or years of meditation in a monastery on top of a mountain. Most people never visit this place simply because they were never told it existed. They were told to look everywhere else. They were told to look in their bank accounts, in their relationships, in their achievements, in their titles, in their social media following, everywhere except the one place where God has always been patiently waiting for them. Right here, inside you, in the silence beneath your thoughts, in the stillness beneath your busyness, in the knowing that exists beyond your doubts. There is an intelligence operating inside your body right now that is so magnificently powerful, so breathtakingly precise, that if you actually stop to think about it, really think about it, it would bring you to your knees in absolute awe. Think about this. Your heart is beating right now. You did not decide to beat it. You did not set an alarm this morning to remind your heart to pump blood. You did not sit down and consciously instruct your liver on how to filter toxins. You did not manually program your immune system to identify and destroy foreign invaders in your bloodstream. There is some infinite organizing intelligence that is running the entire biological masterpiece of your existence without your conscious involvement. And that something, that intelligence, that power, that is God. That is the divine. And it is not just keeping you alive, it is trying to guide your life. Now here is where it gets absolutely extraordinary. Here is where I want you to lean in, because this is the part that most people miss entirely. And missing this single truth is the reason why so many people walk through their entire lives feeling lost, feeling purposeless, feeling like everyone else received a roadmap for their life and somehow they got left out. The same intelligence that keeps your heart beating, the same divine power that grows a baby from 2 microscopic cells into a fully formed human being with 10 fingers and 10 toes, and a brain capable of writing poetry and solving mathematical equations. That same intelligence placed something inside of you before you were born. It placed a calling. It placed a purpose. It placed a specific, unique, irreplaceable gift that only you carry, that only you can deliver to this world. Your calling is not something you have to go out and invent. Your calling is not something you find in a career counselor's office or a personality test or a self-help book. Your calling is something you remember. It has always been there. It was there when you were a child and you lost track of time doing the thing that lit you up completely. It was there in those moments when you felt fully alive, not performing, not impressing, not meeting someone else's expectations. Just alive, just yourself, just connected to something larger than your own thinking mind. The tragedy, and I use that word deliberately because I genuinely believe it is a tragedy, the tragedy of modern human existence is that we have built an entire civilization that teaches people to distrust that inner knowing. We live in a world that tells children from the earliest age to ignore their instincts, silence their imagination, and conform to a predetermined path that someone else decided was the correct way to live a human life. We teach people that practicality is wisdom and that following your inner calling is foolishness. We teach people that the voice of the world, loud, demanding, and relentless, deserves more trust than the quiet, steady voice of God that speaks from the center of their being. And so people spend decades, sometimes their entire lifetimes, living someone else's version of their life, working jobs that drain their soul, maintaining relationships that shrink them, making choices driven by fear, by obligation, by what other people will think. And somewhere deep inside, buried beneath the noise and the busyness and the carefully constructed identity they show the world, there is a quiet ache. There is a persistent, undeniable feeling that there is something more, that they were meant for something specific, that their life has a purpose they have not yet stepped into. That ache is not depression. That ache is not ingratitude. That ache is not evidence that something is wrong with you. That ache is God knocking on the door. That ache is your calling, asking you to stop pretending you cannot hear it. Now let us talk about how God actually guides you, because I think this is where most people get confused, and confusion about this costs people years of their lives. People expect divine guidance to arrive the way a GPS arrives, loud, clear, specific, with turn-by-turn instructions. They expect God to send a dramatic sign, a burning bush moment, a voice from the sky that says, you are supposed to be a musician, or you are supposed to start that business, or you are supposed to write that book. And because the guidance does not arrive in that dramatic, unmistakable format, people conclude that either God is not communicating with them, or they are not spiritual enough to receive the message, or perhaps they simply do not have a calling at all. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding of how divine intelligence communicates. God does not shout, God whispers. And God whispers through your feelings, specifically through the feeling of passion. Think about the things in your life that make you feel most alive. Think about the activities, the ideas, the conversations that make time completely disappear. Think about the moments when you are so engaged, so absorbed, so fully present that your mind quiets down and something that feels like pure joy flows through you effortlessly. Those moments are not random. Those moments are not accidents. Those moments are God speaking to you in the language of your own enthusiasm, pointing to the specific direction your life is meant to move. Passion is a divine signal. When you feel it, do not rationalize it away. Do not listen to the voice in your head that immediately calculates whether it is practical, whether it is profitable, whether it is something people will approve of. That voice, the voice of practicality, the voice of fear, the voice of what other people will think, that voice is not God. That voice is the ego. And the ego, as magnificently useful as it is for navigating the physical world, is the single greatest obstacle standing between you and the life you were called to live. The ego operates from a fundamental misunderstanding. The ego believes you are separate, separate from other people, separate from the universe, separate from God. And from this position of imagined separation, the ego makes every decision from a place of fear, scarcity, and self-protection. The ego says, do not take the risk, you might fail. The ego says, do not be too visible, people might judge you. The ego says, who do you think you are to imagine that you have a special calling? Look at all the people better qualified than you. The ego will construct 1,000 rational, sophisticated, seemingly reasonable arguments for why you should stay small, stay safe, and stay exactly where you are. But here's what I want you to understand about the ego. And this is perhaps the most liberating thing I will say today. The ego is not your enemy. The ego is simply confused. The ego is a case of mistaken identity. You have spent so many years identifying with your thoughts, your fears, your social conditioning, your past experiences, that you have forgotten who you actually are beneath all of that. You have forgotten that you are not the voice in your head. You are the awareness that is aware of the voice in your head. You are not your fears. You are not your failures. You are not your wounds. You are the eternal divine consciousness that is temporarily wearing a human body, having a human experience, on a mission that was designed specifically for you before you took your first breath. When you begin to shift your identity, when you begin to move your sense of self from the ego mind down into that deeper awareness, that deeper knowing, something miraculous happens. The guidance becomes clearer, the calling becomes louder, the fear does not disappear entirely, but it stops being the thing that makes your decisions. You begin to act from inspiration rather than desperation. You begin to move toward your calling, not because you have figured everything out, not because all the conditions are perfect, not because you have eliminated all the risk, but because something inside you that is wiser and larger and more ancient than your conscious mind is pulling you forward, and you have finally decided to trust it. And here is the thing about trust, about genuine spiritual trust, that most people fundamentally misunderstand. Trust does not mean that everything will be easy. Trust does not mean that the path to your calling will be smooth, obstacle-free, and immediately rewarding. Trust means that you have decided to believe, even in the midst of difficulty and uncertainty and apparent failure, that God's plan for your life is more intelligent than your fear's plan for your life. Trust means that when a door closes, instead of spending months grieving in front of that closed door, you turn around and look for the one that is opening. Trust means that you have made a decision, not a feeling, but a decision, that you are being guided, even when you cannot see the path clearly. Think about this image. Imagine walking through a dark forest at night, carrying a lantern. The lantern does not illuminate the entire forest. It does not show you the destination. It does not eliminate every shadow or every uncertainty. It simply lights up the next few steps in front of you. And that is enough. That is all you need. Because as you take those next few steps, the light moves with you, and the next few steps after that become visible, and then the next few after that. The entire path reveals itself one section at a time, but only as you are willing to walk forward into the part that is currently lit. That lantern is divine guidance. That lantern is the inner knowing, the quiet intuition, the feeling of rightness that lives inside you and shows you the next step. Not all the steps, just the next one. And your job, your spiritual practice, your act of faith is to take that step, trusting that the light will continue to move with you. Now, I want to speak directly to the person who is listening to this right now and feeling a particular kind of pain. The pain of feeling like it is too late. The pain of looking at your life and calculating your age and the time that has passed, and the dreams that were deferred, and concluding that the window for your calling has closed. I want to speak to you specifically because this particular lie, the lie of too late, is perhaps the most devastating and most unnecessary suffering that human beings inflict upon themselves. There is no too late in the universe. There is no expiration date on your calling. The divine intelligence that placed your purpose inside of you is not bound by your concept of time. God does not look at a calendar and decide that you missed your appointment. Every single day that you are alive and breathing is a day in which the full power of divine guidance is available to you, in which the calling that was placed in you at birth is still patiently, lovingly, persistently present, waiting for you to say yes to it. Every experience you have had, every failure, every mistake, every heartbreak, every detour, every closed door, none of it was wasted. All of it was preparation. All of it was education. All of it was God giving you the specific experiences, the specific wisdom, the specific depth and compassion and resilience that you need in order to fulfill your calling in the way only you can fulfill it. The person who has never experienced failure has no real wisdom to share. The person who has never been broken open has no real capacity for compassion. Your wounds are not evidence that God forgot about you. Your wounds are part of the curriculum. I want to close this part of the conversation with something that I believe with every cell of my being. And I want you to hear it not just with your mind, but with your whole self. You are not an accident. You are not a random collision of atoms in an indifferent universe. You are not here by chance. You are not ordinary. You were specifically, intentionally, lovingly called into existence by an intelligence so vast and so wise that it has been orchestrating the details of your life with a precision that your thinking mind cannot fully comprehend. You have a calling that is uniquely yours. You have gifts that the world genuinely needs. You have a contribution to make that cannot be made by anyone else who has ever lived or will ever live. Because there is only one you, there has only ever been one you, and the universe made no redundancies. The guidance is there. It has always been there, in the quiet moments, in the passion that rises up when you touch the thing you love, in the synchronicities that feel too perfect to be coincidence, in the book that falls off the shelf at exactly the right moment, in the conversation that changes your direction, in the dream that wakes you up at 3 in the morning with an idea so alive you cannot go back to sleep. All of it is God speaking. All of it is the divine intelligence within you, around you, working through you, trying to bring you home to the life you were always meant to be living. The question is not whether you are being guided. The question is whether you are willing to listen. The question is whether you are willing to get quiet enough, still enough, brave enough to hear the whisper beneath the noise. The question is whether you are willing to trust the calling even when the world around you does not understand it, even when the numbers do not add up yet, even when the fear is real and the outcome is uncertain. Because here is the final truth, the truth that changes everything when you actually receive it in the deepest part of your being. You are never alone, not for a single moment, not in the darkest night, not in the most profound uncertainty, not in the middle of the biggest failure you have ever experienced. The same power that holds the stars in their place is holding you. The same intelligence that orchestrates the migration of birds across thousands of miles of open ocean is orchestrating the journey of your life. You are inside the mind of God. You have always been inside the mind of God. And the mind of God has never, not once, not for a single second, forgotten your name. Your calling is calling. Listen, trust, move. We have traveled somewhere profound together today, and I do not want you to leave this moment and immediately pick up your phone and scroll back into the noise of the world before what you have heard has a chance to settle into your soul. So stay with me for just one more moment. Here's what I want you to carry with you, not as an intellectual concept that you file away and forget, but as a living, breathing truth that you return to every single day. God is not outside of you. God is not waiting for you to become worthy. God is the very life that animates you, the intelligence that sustains you, and the love that is calling you forward into the fullness of who you were created to be. Your calling is real, it is specific, it is yours, and it is available to you right now, today, exactly as you are, exactly where you are. You do not need to have everything figured out. You do not need to eliminate the fear before you begin. You do not need permission from anyone. You only need to make one decision, the decision to trust the guidance that is already living inside of you, and to take the next step that the light is showing you, even if it is just one small step. The universe responds to your movement. Take the step. God will meet you there. To every single soul who gave their time, their attention, and their open heart to this conversation today, thank you. Not a routine, obligatory thank you, but a deep, genuine, soul-level thank you. Because your willingness to sit with these ideas, to question the assumptions you have been carrying, to consider the possibility that you are more magnificent and more guided than you have been told, that willingness is itself a form of courage, and courage is where every great calling begins. Keep going, keep trusting, keep listening to the voice within. The best of your life is not behind you, it is ahead of you, and God is already there waiting for you to arrive. Good luck, and may you never forget that the most extraordinary guide you will ever have lies not in any book, not in any teacher, not in any external authority, but in the infinite, divine intelligence that breathes through you, beats through you, and loves through you every single moment of every single day. You are guided, you are loved, you are exactly where you are supposed to be. Every experience you have had, every failure, every mistake, every heartbreak, every detour, every closed door, none of it was wasted. All of it was preparation. All of it was education. All of it was God giving you the specific experiences, the specific wisdom, the specific depth and compassion and resilience that you need in order to fulfill your calling in the way only you can fulfill it. The person who has never experienced failure has no real wisdom to share. The person who has never been broken open has no real capacity for compassion. Your wounds are not evidence that God forgot about you. Your wounds are part of the curriculum. I want to close this part of the conversation with something that I believe with every cell of my being. And I want you to hear it not just with your mind, but with your whole self. You are not an accident. You are not a random collision of atoms in an indifferent universe. You are not here by chance. You are not ordinary. You were specifically, intentionally, lovingly called into existence by an intelligence so vast and so wise that it has been orchestrating the details of your life with a precision that your thinking mind cannot fully comprehend. You have a calling that is uniquely yours. You have gifts that the world genuinely needs. You have a contribution to make that cannot be made by anyone else who has ever lived or will ever live, because there is only one you. There has only ever been one you, and the universe made no redundancies. The guidance is there. It has always been there, in the quiet moments, in the passion that rises up when you touch the thing you love, in the synchronicities that feel too perfect to be coincidence, in the book that falls off the shelf at exactly the right moment, in the conversation that changes your direction, in the dream that wakes you up at 3 a.m. with an idea so alive you cannot go back to sleep. All of it is God speaking. All of it is the divine intelligence within you, around you, working through you, trying to bring you home to the life you were always meant to be living.